Hello everyone, this is Earth Archives. Speaking of the most famous attractions in the United States, Yellowstone Park is definitely on the list, but few friends may know why Yellowstone Park became the first national park in the United States. Let's talk about this story today. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. Let's huddle around the campfire and spin a yarn about a true American treasure, Yellowstone National Park. To say it's just another park is like saying the Grand Canyon is a ditch. It's the Og of national parks, not just in the United States but on the planet. Stretching over a whopping 2 million acres across Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, Yellowstone isn't just big. It's the stuff of legend, complete with geysers that throw temper tantrums, landscapes that look like Mother Nature's art studio, and wildlife that basically owns the place. Now, picture this, it's 1872, and the idea of setting aside a chunk of land larger than some countries for nothing but trees, animals, and those steamy hot springs was about as common as smartphones at the time. That is, non-existent. Back then, the land was pretty much a giant, for sale, sign, ready to be chopped up and sold to the highest bidder looking to make a quick buck. Preserving land for something as whimsical as hiking, picnicking, and future generations to and are over was a concept as foreign as ketchup on sushi. But here's where the magic happens. A few forward thinkers, with minds as wild as the land itself, imagined a different fate for this slice of raw American wilderness. They envisioned a place where the public could access, enjoy, and bask in the great outdoors without it turning into another shopping mall. And just like that, the seeds of Yellowstone were planted, along with the ideals of public access, relishing nature, and conserving the wilderness for those yet to set foot in it. Yellowstone didn't just set the bar, it created the bar. Its founding fired up the imaginations of people not just in the US but around the globe, leading to the creation of national parks worldwide. So next time you're watching Old Faithful shoot up to the sky or a bison giving you the side eye, remember, you're living in a dream someone dared to dream over a century ago. And that, folks, is pretty darn special. Indigenous history of Yellowstone. Let's peel back the layers of Yellowstone's majestic scenery to reveal a story not often told, a narrative woven deeply into the very soil and steam that define this iconic wilderness. Picture this, long before Yellowstone was etched onto maps and protected by park rangers, it was a vibrant hub of life and culture for indigenous people. We're not talking about a brief visit or a temporary campsite. We're talking about thousands of years of history, folks. Imagine the Crow tribe, calling it Orporoshe, land of steam, not just for its postcard-worthy geysers but as a nod to the sacredness of the land. Then there's the Assiniboine and Sioux, who knew it as Pahaska, which translates to White Mountain Country, painting an image of the pristine landscapes they cherished. The Tukadika, a Shoshone band, didn't just drop by for the summer. Yellowstone was their year-round address, their forever home, long before it became the nation's first national park. Yellowstone, with its veins of obsidian, was like a prehistoric home depot for the tribes. This wasn't just shiny rock. It was the stuff of survival crucial for crafting knives, arrowheads, and tools that were the backbone of daily life. Archaeologists have stumbled upon over 50 ancient sites where obsidian was quarried, revealing a complex network of trade and tradition. Then 1872 rolls around, and Yellowstone gets an upgrade to national park status. Sounds great for conservation, right? But here's the twist. The very people who tread softly on this land for millennia were suddenly unwelcome. The Tukadika, who called this place home, were uprooted and relocated, making room for tourists over the truths of history. As reservations were mapped out around Yellowstone, a narrative brewed, one that painted indigenous tribes as strangers to these lands, fearful of the boiling waters and erupting geysers. This couldn't be further from the truth. Those very policies meant to preserve Yellowstone's beauty were now barriers that kept Native Americans from hunting, fishing, or even collecting the obsidian that tied them to their ancestors. In creating Yellowstone, a symbol of natural preservation, the government, perhaps inadvertently, cast the original stewards of these lands as trespassers on their own soil. A tale of loss and exclusion is woven into the towering pines and rolling mists of Yellowstone, reminding us that the true story of any place is complex, layered, and demands to be heard. First settler expeditions into Yellowstone. Gather round for a tale that zips us back to the wild wilderness of yesteryear. We're talking about a time when Yellowstone was just a twinkle in Mother Nature's eye, long before it became the selfie spot deluxe it is today. Our story kicks off with a rugged fella by the name of John Coulter. You might remember him from such adventures as the Lewis and Clark expedition, But Coulter, he had a bit of wanderlust in him. In the frostbitten winters of 1807 and 1808, he was out there in what would be Yellowstone, chasing dreams of fur and fortune. Coulter's tales of steaming geysers and bubbling hot springs passed through the grapevine for a good 60 years. These whispers of wonder lit a fire under the Folsom Cook expedition in 1869, followed by the star player of our saga, the Washburn-Doane expedition in 1870. Picture it, these adventurers are camped out under the stars, mouths agape at nature's marvels, when someone pipes up, "Shouldn't we, protect this stuff?" And bam, the idea of a national park sparked to life around a campfire. But hold your horses, because it wasn't all just about preserving beauty. Patricia Limerick, a brainy history professor, throws in a curveball. Turns out, the land was high, rugged, and practically gave agriculture the middle finger. But then, enter the railroads, yes, those chugging behemoths tearing through the wilderness. They were actually Yellowstone's fairy godmother in disguise. Railroads needed show-stopping destinations, and Yellowstone fit the bill. One fine day, Nathaniel Langford, a chap from the Washburn expedition, has a chinwag with Jay Cook, the big boss of Northern Pacific Railroad. Cook's eyes are twinkling with dollar signs as he pitches Yellowstone as the next hot ticket in town to boost his railroad business. Paul Schullery, a historian who probably wears a cool hat, gives us the scoop in his book. Langford starts touring the country, funded by Cook, talking up Yellowstone like it's the next Vegas. One of these spiel sessions tickles the fancy of Ferdinand V. Hayden, a geological surveyor. Fast forward, and Hayden's off to Yellowstone with a squad that includes William Henry Jackson, a photographer, and Thomas Moran, a painter with flair. This crew didn't just come back with tall tales, they had the receipts. Moran's paintings and Jackson's snapshots brought Yellowstone to life in Congress's halls, turning lawmakers into a bunch of Yellowstone fanboys. Images like Moran's Grand Canyon at Yellowstone Park, and Jackson's iconic Old Faithful geyser shot did more than words ever could. Hiram M. Chittenden basically said these artworks slapped a big, must-preserve, stamp on Yellowstone for all eternity. And that, my friends, is how Yellowstone went from wild whispers to America's poster park, all thanks to a bit of adventure, some strategic chit-chats, and the magic of art. Yellowstone becomes a park. Way back in the day, precisely on March 1, 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant decided to shake things up in a big way. He whipped out his pen and signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act into existence. What this fancily worded document said, in a nutshell, was, "Yo, this stunning slice of America is now officially off limits to anyone trying to settle, occupy, or sell it. From this point forward, it's a public park, a playground for everyone to enjoy." Talk about a game changer. Now, hold your horses. If you're about to crown Yellowstone as the world's first national park, you might want to tip your hat to Bogd Khan Ul National Park in Mongolia. Those folks had taken steps to protect their slice of heaven way back in 1783. Just a fun fact to keep in your pocket. The whole idea behind creating Yellowstone wasn't just about preserving beautiful scenery. It was also about stirring up a sense of national pride. The legendary Frederick Law Olmsted, the genius behind New York City's Central Park, was all in on this vision. He argued that it was pretty much the government's job to ensure that happiness was on the table for everyone. And where better to find joy than in the awe-inspiring vistas of nature? According to Olmsted, parks like Yellowstone were democracy in action, a place where unity, liberty, and equality weren't just lofty ideals but real, tangible experiences. Mark Fieger, a sharp-minded historian, sees Olmsted's vision as a shout-out to the Founding Fathers' dream of what America could be. A place where freedom and nature dance together under the wide-open skies. But let's not sugarcoat it. Rolling out Yellowstone as America's backyard paradise wasn't exactly smooth sailing. Suddenly, what locals had been doing for ages, hunting in these lands, turned into a big no-no. Overnight, folks trying to feed their families were branded as poachers. Talk about community tension. And here's the kicker. When they said, public park, they weren't exactly rolling out the welcome mat for everyone. To make these lands the pristine wilderness folks admired, they had to erase the Native American presence, literally airbrushing entire communities out of the picture. Historian Paul Schullery hits the nail on the head when he says that Yellowstone, like nature itself, is always a work in progress. As our society evolves, so does our understanding of injustices, like the sidelining of native peoples. Patricia Limerick, another history whiz, points out that the real magic of Yellowstone is its power to challenge us, to keep us on our toes. Yes, the geysers and the wildlife are cool, but Yellowstone's true beauty lies in its ability to make us think, to unsettle us, and to remind us that the American experience can't be boiled down to a one-size-fits-all. It's a wild, wonderful journey that keeps evolving, just like the landscape of Yellowstone itself.